Thank you, Paz. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. A warm welcome to everyone, especially for the representatives from the universities of Portugal and Spain. And my special thanks go to Madara, the Vice President for Education of the Europe Executive Committee, for joining us, and to Ruth for agreeing to moderate this webinar. Welcome to the first event of the SUSTLAND Project, an Erasmus Plus program approved in last October. It is important to note that this project is in a consortium between three partners, the AEP, Associação Espanhola de Paisagistas, the coordinator for this project, IFL Europe, and APAP, the Portuguese Association of Landscape Architects. With this project, we hope to contribute to the professional recognition of landscape architecture in the Iberian Peninsula and Europe, where only 8 countries have professional recognition. We want to raise awareness among other professions, governments, and communities for the recognition and appreciation of the specificity of the areas of landscape architecture. We want to promote the updating of curriculum structures, new subjects, materials, and techniques, benefiting both current and future professionals. We intend to improve working conditions and, in the mid-term, employability indicators. We want to create networks of collaboration between the academia, the public and private sectors in various countries and consolidate the common framework for training for the profession in Europe. We want to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals and promote the conditions for implementing the principles expressed in the European Landscape Convention. This program runs for 18 months, and as you have already understood, the direct beneficiaries are the professionals, the students, trainers, and the representatives of the public and private sectors linked to the landscape architecture. This is the first session in a series of events, webinars, and workshops, and has a maximum duration of 19 minutes. So I kindly request to everyone present to remain silent and inform you that the conversation will take place only between the speakers. The participants should post any questions they wish to ask in the chat, and if the session ends, for any remaining questions, we will publish the response in writing. So I'm done. Ruth, I leave the session with you, and thank you again for moderating this session, and let's go.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you. And good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to this webinar, Education Without Recognition, the Paradox of Landscape Architecture, Landscape Architecture Education in Spain and Portugal. In this first webinar dedicated to the topic of training, we are joined by Professors Ana Luisa Soares from the University of Lisbon. She is a landscape architect with a degree and PhD from University of Lisbon. Ana Paula Gomes da Silva from University of Algarve. She is a landscape architect with degree, master, and PhD from the University of Lisbon. Frederico Meireles from University of Trás-os-Montes e Alto Douro. He is a landscape architect with a degree and PhD from University of Porto. Paulo Farinha Marques from University of Porto. He is a landscape architect with a degree and master from University of Lisbon and a PhD from Sheffield Faculty of Arts and Humanities. Myself, Ruth Sousa Matos, from University of Évora, with a degree, master, and PhD from the University of Évora. From Spain, we have Professors Laura Iesque from Rey Juan Carlos Universidad. She is a landscape architect with a master in gardening and landscaping from Madrid and a PhD in landscape architecture from Vienna. Luis Maldonado from the Universidad Politécnica de Catalunya. He is an architect with degree and PhD in architecture. And Juan Antonio Caridad from the University of La Coruña. He is an architect with a degree and PhD in architecture. We are all the representatives of the universities, we are all directors of programs in landscape architecture in our universities. Representing IFLA Europe, we have Madara Markova, the Vice President of Education from Latvia. She is a landscape architect with a degree and PhD in landscape architecture. Welcome, Madara. What brings us here today, I think, more than the issue of recognition, is a discussion about the lack of visibility of landscape architecture in Portugal and Spain. Why is this so, and what paths might lead to a possible solution? Although we are recognized because we are recognized, we are in fact losing ground to architects, geographers, and other professionals who are seeing their skills extended to the area of urban open spaces, design and planning. In view of this, the question that arises, or the questions that arise are, is it due to Bologna 3+2 education model? Is it due to a lack of a regulatory body for the profession? Is it the profession itself that does not know how to make itself recognized? The situation in Spain is the same as in Portugal? What is the solution to our problem? Or, in fact, we are replaceable? These are the questions I leave to you. And now I give the floor to Madara Markova, followed then by representatives from the universities, and then to the general public. Thank you. Madara, whenever you want.
Thank you. I will try to keep my information short, but I have to say I myself finished a bachelor that was professional bachelor 5 years. Afterwards, I finished 2 years of academic master in landscape architecture and also PhD studies. But I see nowadays that our students that finish 3+2 studies are not worse or somehow lacking the information. They are getting all the practical skills, but at the same time, in many countries in Europe, as from IFLA side, IFLA Europe side, I can see there is problems quite common. And it's usually due to the political decisions and political persons that they don't see the maybe importance, or they don't understand landscape architecture still, even though we have quite a history. If you look up, maybe you are familiar with so-called Blue Book. It was written about teaching importance in landscape architecture. It was written in 1989, and most of the Spanish and Portugal schools were mentioned in this document. Not all countries were from the start there. So it is important that you acknowledge that you have really good history and there's a good quality in education in Spain and Portugal. And maybe it's even, this political vision. And it's important that everybody works on that recognition documents, and that in legislation is written this word landscape architecture, and then in a local, in regional, and also the country level in the legislation documents is mentioned landscape architecture and its importance. And then I think that could be a way how to work on that. And in many countries, you could find similar scenarios that landscape architecture is long-lasting, it's good quality, everybody works on that, but it's not still so much recognized as we would love to. And I have to say that it depends on the country cases why it's that. It's also national association should be really strong to work on that. I believe national associations are the bridge. They could work on that. I myself have been 9 years in my national association, and the main goals have been this bridge between professionals, universities, and the government to work on the documents that are really pushing forward landscape architecture as a field and its importance. That's shortly from me.
Thank you, Madara. colleagues from universities? Ana Luisa, do you want to start? Are you listening to me? Can you listen?
Microphone. Yes, sorry. I'm
Ah,
without.
you are here. Okay.
Yes, I'm without the microphone. Yes.
Okay.
Uh, yes. Maybe another colleague can start, and then I.
Okay. So, Ana Paula, Paulo, Frederico.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ruth. It's a pleasure to be here. I can't avoid being here with sort of two hats as Professor Tutad and also as President of ECLES, because we've been dealing in ECLES the past few months with revising our education guidance for schools, which is going to be out in September. So we've been looking at how can schools improve their programs to the future. Essentially, how can they ensure landscape architecture education in Europe meets all the complexity that we're now facing, and especially that kind of paradox, which is the fact that in case both Portugal and Spain, landscape architecture education is high-level education. It's kind of a holistic education, crossing ecology, design, engineering knowledge. It's broad. It's also in-depth education. But then, of course, we are trained as sort of generals or specialists in complexity. But then we face a problem, which is going out to the professional practice and not being able to put that in practice. So this revision of the guidance, of the education guidance, is to include these complex systems such as biodiversity technology, social resilience. I have to look at some like digital skills, new digital skills, AI in landscape architecture, landscape democracy, productive landscapes, etc. So that means that we are teaching students to solve very complex 21st century problems, but then we are educating them to a market that does not recognize, it's kind of blind to their specific title. So yeah, that's the big problem. So it's a problem of teaching them how to drive an F1 car and then giving them a bike lane for them to drive. That's a problem. I mean, and it's very difficult to it's not sometimes at the university level the power to change the lawmaking and essential changes so that we could change this context. Yeah, I just let someone else continue, I guess.
Okay. Paulo? Paula?
Okay, or Paula, anyone. If Paula wants, Paula goes first. No?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'll go then very quickly. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here and to share with you one of my passions, which is landscape architecture. I'm an old landscape architect now, and I'm very happy to be a landscape architect. And I think the big difference between the Southern European countries and the Northern European countries is an ideological and cultural one. While in the Northern European countries, in North America, these subject or this idea is led by the liberal thinking and the ecological knowledge and the values related with the knowledge and the appreciation of nature as a very high standard of living, and also fed by the development of the ecological knowledge in Germany and Northern Europe and then spread all over the world. Southern European countries, as it happened until very recently, until 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they have been, quite hold in a very, very retarded situation. So that has an impact on life of society. And of course, we are not the same. we are not the ones who are worried with producing nature for the public use, as it happened in North America. Talk about Olmsted, the guy was very much involved in fighting the slavery down south. At the same time, he was already designing Central Park and also making proposals about creating the new belt, the new green belt, or the new green corridors in Boston. So these things are hand by hand. It's a societal thing. Landscape architecture is not just a technical, artistic, or scientific discipline. It is an ideological and cultural issue. It's a way, it reflects the way cultures think and behave. That's why it flourishes. It still flourishes and still has a very powerful impact in these countries which have also engaged themselves in this liberal thinking. I'm use the word liberal in the sense that free way of thinking, not economic liberal strict way of thinking. So this is my view. I think southern countries of Europe like Spain and Portugal are still, far away from having this modernity. Our modernity is very much object-oriented modernity in some sort of ideological ways, very efficient in terms of, rescuing democracy, installing democracy, very powerful, and we developed a lot in the last 50 years, but we still have a long way to go. And these ideas of understanding nature, the complexities of the ecosystems are difficult and very difficult to engage and very difficult to make people believe. And particularly, there are not a lot of money involved in the area. So all these issues, in my opinion, play a central role in not pushing the discipline in a forward way in these southern countries of Europe, although I think it's getting much better these days. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. Anyone? Or should I pass to the Spanish colleagues? Paula or Ana Luisa? Or
I could say something from Spain if you want.
Sure, yes.
Hello, nice meeting you. I'm Laura Jeschke. I'm from the University Rey Juan Carlos in Madrid. So maybe just a little bit about our program, because I think of the three programs in Spain, we were the first that started on a public school with a bachelor degree for landscape architecture in 2016. So this is really young here, no? And we have currently about 40 students that start the studies each year. We have also a combined degree with architecture, so architecture and landscape architecture, which is another 15 students. So we are 55 students a year, and about 15 to 20 who are now finishing. So our first final projects, they started to evolve in 2020 to 2021. So everything is quite new. So from my perspective, I'm trained in Vienna, so I have a 5 years master's degree for landscape architecture from Vienna. But then I did the PhD in Spain in urbanism, actually, because this is another thing, the recognition on a professional base, but also for us as academics, because as there is no specific field of research, well, it's emerging now, where there's a new draft for the classification of the categories of investigation in Spain. There is paisajismo, so landscape architecture somehow included, but until now, we were somehow within urbanism architecture. So I think this is a little bit difficult. And as far as I can tell from our school, we had a lot of work involved in communicating on educational fairs at these kind of forums, this image of what is a landscape architecture, because even our students, they had no clear image, no? And we have a full employment for about 75 to 100% of the students who finish our degree. They are employed after 1 or 2 years after finishing school. But still, I think one of the hardest things is to get also this recognition from the chambers to be able to really professionally work in our field. So this is the experience we can share a little bit from here. If you want further, we can go a little bit more in depth about some specific aspects related to that.
Thank you, Laura.
May I speak?
Sure.
First of all, thank you for organizing everything and for inviting us and so on. You are speaking about the recognition of the profession, and I understand, but I think this is something that is far away from the role of the schools. It's something that belongs to the professionals. And the case of Spain, at least, I don't know in Portugal, but in the case of Spain, the problem is that being a professional of landscape architecture, only educated in landscape architecture, is something so recent. So there are not enough, so to speak, body of people claiming for that. I think this is something that will happen because it is also true that there is no political recognition, but there is. We live in the world we live, so we recognize an increasing number of problems or situations that politicians and administration and society is beginning to recognize that cannot be solved by the common professionals that were asked to do that. I mean, architects, civil engineers, agronomists, forestry engineers, ecologists, and so on. And suddenly appears the role of landscape architecture as someone that, as Paulo said, in other countries seems to be able to behave in a different way, to work in a different way. I represent the youngest of the bachelor's degree in landscape architecture in Spain. We began in 2019. And our initial willing was to offer a 3+2, I mean, a 3 years bachelor degree. But then we were asked to do it in 4. We were willing to do a 3 years degree because we already had a master. So our intention was to reproduce the European model. And many of the students they think they are many times asking to the possibility of signing things, the recognition. And I think this is something that will come from being useful. The main problem is not the formal recognition, but being able to offer something that no other one can offer you, to solve things in a different way. This is what is so important. And I think then the recognition will easily arrive, in my opinion. And it's true, and I agree with Paula, that there is a different, I don't know if we are delayed. I think we have a different tradition. We settle and we occupy the territory in a different way, what means different practices. It's not a problem of, it's something we can discuss. But in any case, our point as educators would be, in my opinion, educating people to be really useful, to offer something different. It's not a problem. Many times in Spain, being an architect, asking for a list of plans. And then this is not landscape architecture. I'm so sorry. And many people still think in Spain that this is a landscape architect, and this is not. It's, as some of you said, Federico, for instance, we speak and we work complex situations, complex systems, and so on. It's completely different. So the point is making these people able to show that they are different and they are pretty interesting, powerful, useful. And so, thank you.
Thank you, Luis.
Yeah, it's possible to talk, Ruth?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation to the organization, the organizers, and thank you very much. Well, I'm so agree with Laura and Luis. the degree in La Coruña and Lugo is young, from 28, from 18, 20, and we are all the time occupied in explaining to the people who is or what is an landscape architect at a degree in landscape. Okay, and I think that the future is that that people are useful for the society. And our experience is that the old people who finish the degree are working with a job because they are different, and they have a different formation from architect, from engineer, and so on. And the way is from the I think the way is from the university with a degree, a bachelor degree. Then we arrive to the competence, because in Galicia, the landscape is so important for all the people, and in Galicia, in some opposition to the administration, to the regional administration, the bachelor in degree can present to the general court. In some context, like the project of the maritime facade of the city of La Coruña, the basis of the contest need a paisajista, okay, who is very different because they know how is the ecological complex and how to project with green tools, okay. But my thesis is that from the university, from the academic formation, higher level education is possible to achieve the useful of the titulation F and achieve the competence in the work, in the job. Okay.
Thank you, Juan. I would like to have the opinion of Ana Luisa Soares and Paula Gomes da Silva, please.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you all for this opportunity. So here I'm landscape architecture and from Instituto Superior de Agronomia, where the first course of landscape architecture in 1942 starts in Portugal. And it's a pleasure to be here in order to collaborate with all these universities here represented between Spain and Portugal. And thank you for all this opportunity.
Thank you, Ana. Paula, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was a little bit late because I'm giving a lesson. Can you situate me about the answer you are asking all the partners?
No, it's just the situation of landscape architecture. It is a recognition that is not recognized, or what it means that we are recognized, but we are still invisible.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the point of the education, in the University of Algarve, we have the 2 degrees, the bachelor and the master, and it's normal the students make the both. And I know they can be recognized by the Association of Landscape Architects, Portuguese Landscape Architects, And at least we have some kind of normative that applies to the landscape architecture procedures. I think one of the reasons we are not recognized, it's not necessarily formally, but it's because of the number of landscape architects. And I think it's not a Portuguese and Spanish problem. I think it's a bigger problem. We are not enough to make to enter in the big discussions, to give our opinion when the big problems are being discussed. So I think that's the main problem I see in the recognition. It's more society. We are not recognized by society. For me, it's major than the normative question, the normative thing. Fortunately, I think we should have more and more courses, more and more degrees, because we have, for instance, in Portugal, we just have 3 bachelors. It's too little. To have a voice in the society, we need to appear more and to express our opinions and to reveal our abilities to lead with the great problems of the contemporarity.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Well, now from University of Évora, my opinion as a professor. Well, I think, like I think everyone said that here, that we are recognized. Yes, we have the profession recognized. We exist since 1942, as Ana Luisa told us, as a free course, and since 1975 as a degree. We have 50 years of professional experience. We are recognized under a code of the economic activity, and under CNAEF, that is a National Classification of Education and Training Areas. We have competitions open specifically for landscape architects. Sometimes there are no landscape architects to occupy that places that are still open. Okay, so I completely agree with Paulo Farinha Marques when he says that is a cultural question. Yes, I think it's a cultural question, because in the north of Europe, okay, Paulo, you told us about the North America, but we can look at the north of Europe, and Norway, for instance, they are not regulated in the profession like association of architects. They are like us. They have no unregulated association, and they are very respected and recognized. And for instance, and they are not so many. So I think I was thinking, and sometimes I'm thinking about it, and I discuss with other colleagues, and I think I must agree with Paulo. It is a cultural question, and ideological question, without any question. Because, okay, the 3+2 model of Bologna, it was not good for landscape architecture, because landscape architecture is a profession that is complex, that needs time, that needs support, and the fact that that we are in this model of Bologna, we reduce the time, we reduce the contact hours of students with professors. We reduced the capacity of give to the students the ideas and the tools and the knowledge to be good professionals, because one ACTS corresponds to 26 hours of lessons. 10 hours from these are contact hours. So 180 ACTS credits is not enough to have a good landscape architect, because the formation, we should just practice if we have 300 ACTS credits, but the 3+2 allows people with 180 ACTS to practice, because we have still the name of degree, not bachelor, but degree. So it is possible to students with 3 years work outside and practice the profession, and that is very negative, I think. So what should we do? I don't know if there is any questions there from the public.
I think there's the question of, well, that recognition depends mostly on law. So it's not a matter of vanity of a certain profession to be recognized. It's a matter of safety, of territorial safety in the end. So when a profession isn't regulated, the space is filled by those who don't have who don't have a vision on, in our case, a landscape vision on how to address problems, on how to address projects and planning. And I think in Spain and Portugal, we often see that landscape architects are treated sort of as a decorator, as Luis has said. So we just are completely out of the idea of the Green Deal. So on one hand, we think of laws for the Green Deal. On the other hand, we treat landscape architects as decorators. I'm not saying, we all know what is landscape architect, so it's not from our side. But the problem when these other professions are very heavily regulated is a power gap. So if the architects, if the engineers have a strong regulation and they are permitted to do landscape architecture and to show their work as a landscape architecture work, then it's a problem of risk of territorial safety in the end as well. So yeah, so in Portugal, for example, unlike the colleagues of architecture engineer, we do not have a chamber of landscape architects. In Portugal, we call it ordem. So we do not have that chamber, and that might become a legal problem in the end. So there's this paradox. A graduate from any school might have a very good education in landscape architecture, but legally they lack a sword, something that just can make them autonomous, have autonomous power to sign off on landscape architecture projects, and show their clear expertise. So yeah, they might do it, some do it, and very well, but others can do it as well. Others, rather than landscape architects, can do it as well. And yeah, that's a problem of recognition or balanced recognition between similar professions or design professions or planning professions, such as the architects and the engineers. Yeah, so that's I think the biggest problem. And I agree that number makes power as well. So if we have more people, so we can demand more things. But it's frustrating because at least from the side of the universities, I think most universities feel a bit powerless to change the situation, because this has to be changed from a societal vision and not specifically from the university. So yeah, so if you have more graduates in landscape architecture, maybe society gets more prepared, and then so there's a change in law and there's a change in regulation, and that would change this power gap.
And how do you explain the case of Norway or Netherlands or that small countries that we are completely recognized there, and respected and everything else. They don't have regulation.
No, but
they
the
fight.
landscape architecture in Norway has 100 years more than in Portugal. So it's a more stable, profession there for longer periods of time. So I guess that's one of the things. So there's more people, there's more competition with architects. Yeah.
But also because for instance, in the Netherlands, in the 80s, the landscape architects decided to fight against the civil engineers. To fight in the sense of saying, in a country that needs to be always pumping up water and so on, is not only about engineering, is not only about dikes, it's about the values of the place in which we will live. And they followed the example of the French. In the 70s in France, there were a few landscape architects. The so well-known Jacques Simon, Michel Courageux, Gilles Clement, they were a few people, but they decided to fight against the urban and regional planners that were deciding everything in France. And now they have a big number of landscape architects, and they are so recognized. And the same happens in the Netherlands. They have some of the biggest and most powerful offices of landscape architecture, but it's because in a certain moment, those working in landscape architecture decided to fight against those people who were mining their access to certain positions and so on. I agree in saying that this is a problem of law. I completely disagree in saying that this is a problem of culture. It's not a cultural problem, in my opinion. And it's true, and I agree that a bigger number of graduates, of people working, will probably push this recognition. But this will happen. For instance, I think I don't remember. Yes, Juan was speaking about the situation in Galicia. In Spain, there is an increasing number of competitions in which, if you want to apply, you need to bring someone with a recognized landscape architecture education. Maybe you cannot sign.
Right,
but
right.
But in the moment that you need to show someone with landscape architecture studies, you cannot sign if you don't bring that one to the
But
competition.
you are so imprescindible.
So?
If there's not paisagistic in the team, you cannot afford
you cannot apply.
Okay,
you cannot
it's
sign
right.
anything. You cannot do anything.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
right.
true that you
It's
are
right.
invisible, but you cannot do anything.
Okay.
And this is the path, in my opinion. The fact of, on one hand, being able to work, because it's not, I don't know in Portugal, but I think you're saying the life of landscape architecture in Portugal is so short, but is so long compared with Spain, let me say. So long compared with Spain. In Spain is something that is already beginning as a real profession, in my opinion. And
sorry.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I completely forgot what I was saying.
Sorry.
No, what I mean is, for me, it's not a cultural problem. We behave in a different way. We have occupied the territory in a different way. We live in completely different cities. We don't sprawl all over the territory because our conditions are completely different. And our climate is different. Our history is different. This is not a problem. The point is that for so long, we didn't have the necessity of facing certain things. Or and let me stick on the case of France. In the 70s, it was Jacques Simon and almost no one else. And suddenly appears someone who began to speak in a different way to show that the way of planning the new suburbs in the cities could be something different, that it was important not only to provide people of roads and terrible dwellings, but also trees and open spaces and so on. And of course, we can go back to the 18th century and we can see what happened in America and so on. But the point is fighting for it, in my opinion. Showing it, doing things differently.
Thank you, Luis. Laura?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, maybe just adding to that, I was wondering because also Luis first said that we don't know if is it a professional task not to address all this kind of the recognition of our profession, or is it academic? At least for our students, there is a huge preoccupation because they are very much concerned about, will I have work? So we can tell them, yeah, we have full employment almost, no? But they're still very worried about that. And
Yep,
just to
he's
put
right.
an example, I think that if it's, and I agree with what you said, Luis, that we don't have critical mass yet of fully trained landscape architects. So we're still in this in between, and this will come. The chambers might come. But still, I think that the definition of the term, so I think it's now about spreading the word. What is paisajismo? What is landscape architecture? And that's why I think it was so important that the term of paisajismo now is integrated in this, what is it called? Áreas de conocimiento? I don't know how to.
Knowledge. Yeah, knowledge areas. Yes, I
Knowledge,
agree.
no? Also
Yeah,
in the academic field, because there wasn't such terms. So I think this is where it starts. And I guess this is where also the associations, now that they are united with this project, and it can help to spread this word. What is the landscape architecture? And I just wanted to put an example. Our students, a lot of them they have to do a lot of almost 4 months of internship, which is included in the program. And
yes,
some of them, they are doing that at the Ayuntamiento de Madrid. So it's the city government of Madrid. And people are very fascinated about the skills of our students. They really like to work with our students, but if they want to hire, so there is no position, no classification within, at least in Madrid. So Barcelona, I think, is a little bit ahead of all of, I suppose. But in Madrid, there is no category for a landscape architect as a technician in the world of the city government. So they can't hire a landscape architect because there is no such position. So I think this is one of the very important tasks to define this kind of term, what's landscape architecture, and do this lobby work as a first step to get more recognition somehow and more visibility, so most of all.
In Barcelona, it's exactly the same situation because this regulation is for all Spain. We are in the same situation. We have 50 students every year. It's not true that all them will finish, but 35 of them will at the end, more or less. And up to now, all them are working. All them are working.
Yeah,
and
it's in Galicia is the same.
And they have pretty good skills. But the problem is that there is no recognition. They are always asking for signing things, for being the final responsible of anything. Okay, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
and I totally agree with you with the fact that it's from schools where we can work and we can spread the word and to explain what it is, what it means, and to work in what you said, knowledge areas, to something that must be recognized and so on. Okay, but the situation is that people is working and people is showing that what they can do. Yes, the difference, in our case we also have 4 to 6 months of internship, and but this is not necessarily in the administration. It's also in private offices. We are cooperating with the regional administration, with local administration, I mean town halls and so on, metropolitan administration, but also with private offices around Barcelona.
Yeah, that's the same in Madrid.
Okay, thank you to both of you. Now I will pass to Paula Gomes da Silva.
Oh, from the academic point of view, or as a university teacher, I think we have many ways to improve the recognition of the landscape architect mainly in the society. I'm at the university since 20 years, and I saw big changes. But I would like to say that for me, one of the ways to improve is by educating, of course, to prepare, to give a good preparation to our students, but also make them feel the importance of the profession and empower them. So when they go outside, they really know they have a special field of knowledge that no other profession has. Then, as a researcher, and in my experience working with other professions, it's also a way to spread the kind of work landscape architects can do. We can share our knowledge, and we can show what our profession are able to do to other people, and they begin to recognize us. And also in the society at University of Algarve, every time we have an opportunity, and nowadays this opportunity appears very often, we work together with municipalities, with associations, with schools, and every time we establish a connection with this kind of group, they start to know what is a landscape architect, what a landscape architect do, what can be done. So year after year, we are enlarging the amount of people that understand what is a landscape architect. And I feel, for instance, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, most of my colleagues of the other courses didn't know what was landscape architecture. And now they know. We participate in the meetings, we speak in the meetings, we work with them. It's important to share our knowledge with the others and allow them to understand what we do. I think it's important. It's a good way to achieve better recognition is to actively act in the society, in different kind of groups of the society. And in the last years, more and more, we receive emails by associations, municipalities that have some kind of problem, and they ask for the help of the University of Landscape Architecture course to work with them to solve some kind of situations. So I think it's baby steps, but we are achieving something.
Thank you, Paula. Paulo Farinha Marques. Não tens o microfone ligado.
Eu acho que é o Juan.
É o Juan? Mas o Juan, eu acho que ele se esqueceu de tirar a mãozinha.
Ah, foi? Ah,
Eu acho.
ok.
Não, mas quando gosto, só falo, hein?
Ok, vai seguir. Agora é o Paulo, ok?
Ok.
Oh, sorry, now it's Paulo.
Okay, so regulation and recognition is about societal organization, and I still carry on. My idea of culture is not the restricted idea of culture. Something it goes back to the way we see the world, and in poor countries like Portugal, we can also mumble about it. I'm very much aligned with Paulo Gomes da Silva. Yes, I'm in the positive side at the moment. We have never been so good and so in such a bad state in Portugal. We are not thinking about that, but the situation is really improving, and the communities are already acknowledging our work and they are understanding and we are closer. We are sharing more information. We are participating in more different types of groups, not just the professional elite among the engineers and the architects. But of course, it's an old profession in Portugal, landscape architecture, and recognized as an old profession in Portugal. And we have influenced a lot, even the lawmaking in Portugal. Why it's a paradox, I'm saying, but it's not. We had very remarkable landscape architects who have completely influenced already in the democratic period and even during dictatorship. And that dictatorship experience have been brought to democracy, and new laws of territorial planning and green space planning as well have made a big difference. But the thing is, culturally and philosophically, these things take a lot of time. While in other countries, in industrial countries of the world, this started 250 years ago, we are approaching the 50, 80-year period of the profession. I still think there is a big issue related with ecological and the appreciation of nature, the ecological knowledge, the appreciation of nature, and the aesthetics of nature. How do we value that issues and how do we know them? Just to say, the majority of the decision makers are taken away from that knowledge at a very early age. Economists, engineers, doctors, bankers, financial advisors, they're all away from the area since they are 15, 14, and then they recover it much later when they are rich already and they don't need to work anymore in the rich areas. So it means that this field is normally occupied just by very interested people, but very few. But the situation is very slowly and gradually improving. It means that probably in the near future, as my colleague has just said, we will have a body of people which will start to make a difference, just like it happens in several cities of Europe. In any city of Europe now, it doesn't matter if it is from the south of Europe or north of Europe, even cities of south of Europe are making a big difference, just like Barcelona, for instance, and other cities, particularly which have a very strong critical attitude towards public space and also towards the specificities of landscape architecture. Because landscape architecture is not a sum of things. It's a real type of product which can make a difference in the way we act, we think, and we propose for a society closer to the functioning of the natural systems. And that's difficult. But I'm quite hopeful. That's why I align myself with Paulo Gomes da Silva and saying, yes, maybe in the near future will be much better. You'll never know. But the things are still, slowly. And that's why we mumble so much about these. Just the fact we discuss our name is ridiculous and pathetic. Why? Because that's also a cultural problem. In the languages across Europe, the situation changes. If it is a German-based word or an Anglo-Saxon-based word or a Latin-based word. And of course, even the name arquiteto paisagista in Portuguese is such a long word, terrible, difficult to communicate, while landscape architecture goes better if you speak in English. So all these things make part of our cultural mosaic, which are fascinating, but it still require a lot of effort. And I'm sure we will improve. We will have to just keep on fighting. And just like the Dutch fought against the engineers, and we still need to fight against the engineers, the architects. Now all this stuff about nature-based solutions, something an old landscape architect knows it's basic thing in its education. We now are trying to be discovered by the group of engineers who still dominate completely the sector of construction because they have all the money. We have been through floods and hurricanes in Portugal, and all the engineers now are completely happy because they are seeing all these figures, all these amounts of money going to build more dikes, more bridges, more roads, more dams, without an holistic approach, not necessarily just given by the landscape architects, but all the whole community who can see the world in a much more broader way. So let's keep on fighting and regulating, recognizing, whatever, but we have to make this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. Juan, it's your turn now.
Well, it's difficult to talk now. Okay, very simple. I think the names are so important. A Galician poet said, meu pai sabe moito das cousas porque sabe como se chaman. Mi padre sabe mucho de las cosas porque sabe como se llaman. Like landscape architect, paisajista, well, a lot of names. Well, which is the right one, or there's no right, because we are so many people, so different landscapes. Okay. We don't talk about a very important thing, the program of studies. What kind of landscape architect we are talking about? I think it's a central one, because if the program of studies make a professional, a useful professional, the thing improves so fast. And I think the more important thing in this goal is the challenge. What is the challenge? We have to. We have opportunities in green infrastructure, green sustainability, and in the case of Galicia, the land law of 2016 said, by translation of Europe directive, that all the planning documents need a landscape study. That's true. What's the challenge? There is a challenge for a new professional with that holistic approach. Yeah, I think so. I think so. And this is the way. This is the way. No more thing.
Thank you, Juan. Carlos Correia Dias.
Sorry, but Paulo stole my argument. Thank you, Paulo. You already said what I was going to do. I only want to remember that we in Portugal, we call ourselves landscape architects, not landscapers, not paisagistas. We think that designation is a little bit not very affordable. Only that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paulo.
Obrigada, Carlos. Tínhamos aqui a Célia Carvalho, que queria pôr uma questão. Não?
A questão está no chat.
Tá? Ok, pronto. Então
Questions in the
depois...
chat. It's about
Okay.
multidisciplinary training and coordination.
Can you hear me?
Coordination.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
oh,
yes, yes.
Okay.
Sorry. One moment. One moment, I'm changing because I'm using my phone and now I'm listening. What I was trying to say is I'm working on landscape architect for my class, I would like to first of all say hi to my teachers here today in the call. I started working in Madrid in 2005, and now I'm in engineering company. So what my experience here in Madrid, it is very difficult to enter in this world because the architects and the civil engineer they have a strong feeling that we can steal the work they do. So we only can enter when we start adding value to the projects. And when we start doing that, they understand that we have a field to comply in our projects, and they start asking us to work since the beginning. One thing I believe from our education is we have a lack of coordination, kind of multidisciplinary projects, road projects, urban development projects, because we center most of all in landscaping projects. And I think it would be good if we can have more about that in our education. I work with another colleague from Evra, Andre. I don't know if he's still here in the call. And we have last year we had to our team one colleague from the university here in Madrid. So we have a very open idea about the skills from Portugal and here also from Madrid. We believe they are very good. What we learn in the university it will help for us to integrate the project. The only thing that we need to be more open to understand the needs of the architects and the civil engineers, because they believe that we don't understand what they have to tell us. And when we start argue or start asking them for topographic surveys or for coordination for utilities and that kind of stuff, they understand that we have many things to say and help them to solve the problems. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Celia. Is there any questions? Is there anyone that wants to speak?
I think it's a bit difficult to teach on coordination. It's usually a mix of individual skills and experience. Of course, you can teach a workflow and how it works, now how to keep a structure of a work, and we all do that when we teach design projects. But then becoming a coordinator of a design project, I think it requires it requires experience. It requires a certain level of understanding and dialogue with different areas of knowledge, as you say, being interdisciplinary. But at the same time, I think landscape architects are actually very well educated on transdisciplinarity. So I think it helps filling that gap when you just start to work in an office or go for create your own practice. It gets easy to understand those, to achieve those skills. Of course, I understand it's really important to teach on to teach those skills of coordination skills. I see, for example, engineers, they teach that. They have quite a good education on how to coordinate, how to think about logistics, how to understand an ecosystem of construction, and that helps them to coordinate teams, coordinate construction, coordinate design. Yeah, and sometimes we focus excessively in teaching how to design, and less on those sort of skills, which are not soft skills. They're really hard skills, but well, there's less education in that part of logistics. human resources, understanding how to dialogue with others. Although you're very well equipped in terms of in scientifically and practically and technically equipped, then you have to be able to, to manage a construction, to manage a team, to manage a political dialogue, a discussion. And that is very hard to teach, I think. It requires experience.
Dealing with that.
Sorry, Luis, Margarida.
Of course.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the preparation of this seminar. I was the previous Vice President for Education at IFLE Europe, and I taught for 35 years at the University of Évora. Paula Simões, Ruth, Carlos Correia Dias, a lot of people that are Alexandra, that are here were my students. We have a high diversity of education along Europe. We believed that it was a very good, it was a richness to have all these different programs, but we always fight to have a common body of preparation. And I couldn't imagine, for instance, that in the Nordic countries, they have wonderful programs, like in Norway, in Poland, but we didn't accept, some years ago, we didn't accept the Danish program. They are not recognized by IFLE Europe, the university program, because they are based only on design. They are very, very good urban designers, very good. They have a very good preparation, and they always argued with us, IFLE Europe, that it was a tradition. They came from art, the program, and it was a tradition. Okay, we cannot prepare landscape architects for design and landscape architects for land use planning. No, we need to have a complete formation, preparation. So we always argued also that we need 5 years in landscape architecture. It's not possible to have students prepared to. There is a fight with the cultural. I understand the cultural approach from Paulo Farinha Marques, because our government doesn't understand what really we can do. And we have a very important domain at IFLE Europe and at Europe level. I'm always fighting that we deal, and we are prepared to deal with risks. Now we have, like in Spain and other countries, terrible floods, and the ministers don't relate it. The water basin, they don't relate it what it's happening. Of course, it was extraordinary rainfall. It was, but we could avoid a lot of problems. At the same time, the same Minister of Environment are allowing to cut cork trees by thousands for having solar panels and solar energy. Thousands. We are now permission 32,000 trees, adult trees. There is an ecosystem. They are not replaceable by very young trees. Young trees are not an ecosystem. So they don't relate it. The environmental issues, the environmental accidents. So it's very, very difficult. I believe, and we defended always, that what is going on Greece, on Spain, you need to have invited teachers, full landscape architects, 5 years prepared landscape architects, invited teacher. We don't have money. Okay, but you have money to have 11 architects with 2 years of landscape architecture. You have enough money to hire these people. So please start to have more prepared people. But I also believe that you are doing in Spain and in Portugal wonderful
projects, very, very good. So some people are really prepared. So we have a body of people. The recognition in Portugal, it's also difficult. And the paradox, it's we have several laws in urbanism and land use planning, several laws that demand this project must be made by architects, engineers, landscape architects, is in the law that they need landscape architects. And they don't recognize the profession and don't regulate the profession in Portugal. We are not regulated, not yet, but we are in the law that they need in the teams to have landscape architects. There is another issue that I would like, and now I forgot. It was very useful for me as a student many years ago, and as a teacher at the University of Évora, to have exhibitions of the works of the students in the walls, calling the attention. These are the Department of Landscape Architecture, or these are what we do. So to prepare and to have always posters with the work of the students, it's very, very important to call the attention. Because 5 years after we have been in Évora, the teacher of hydraulics saw our students' work. I didn't know that you work with slopes and with water. Of course we work. So it's important. The Portuguese Association of Landscape Architects for many years, when we had a new environmental minister, we asked an audience. We put some papers on the table. We explained our main problems, and we left the memorandum on the table of the minister. They didn't understand what we are talking about, not yet. We had only one minister that understood what our concerns, what we really are doing. I believe the other professions know very well our work, geographers, architects, they try to do our work, of course, but they understand very well what we are doing, and we had several transdisciplinary teams, and we can work together with them. Okay, I don't have many recommendations. Madara is doing now a very good work. We still have this school recognition panel for the new programs. We are 11 people working on that. And we never say, we said to the Danish, we said, it's not possible. With this curriculum, it's not possible. But for Spain, for Greece, we always said, we are saying yes, but with some recommendations. Please, when you change your program, you add more environmental issues, or you need to have more full prepared landscape architects. We love recommendations, and I think it's very, very useful to improve the quality of our profession. Just to say that at the European level, the relationship with architects, the European Council of Architects is improving. It's better and better. They understand us better. And when Ursula von der Leyen started the new Bauhaus program, it was the architects that called landscape architects to work in the team. So they ask, they understand, they need our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarida. Luís, do you still want to say something?
Margarida explained so many interesting things, so I don't remember what I was to say. To be honest, I remember Meireles was speaking about organization and so on. I completely agree. This is something we cannot teach. But let me say, I don't know in Portugal, but in Spain, 95% of civil engineers work in that. And I would prefer my students to not work in that because it's a horrible profession. I would prefer them to be able, for instance, to do what Margarida is asking us or our students to do or our professionals to do. Someone that is able to work in a different way with a completely different background. And this is so important. You are, Margarita, you are so right. With the recent events in Spain this summer, with floods, fires, and so on, but it's in all Southern Europe. It's true. When you know what the administration seems to be preparing, you can feel a bit scared because this is not the solution. We do know this is not the solution, but the problem is being able to explain that and to show what we can do, that we make the difference in this sense. I think Manuel Sanchez wrote in the chat that we speak about fighting against engineers, fighting against architects, and so on. It's not against, but is trying to show what makes the difference in our profession. And I think this is so important and so difficult, by the way. But I think they don't really understand. Now, you, Margarita, were explaining about the situation in which the architects call the landscape architects to join and then to develop something. This is the good situation, a situation in which someone suddenly understands they cannot solve it with concrete. They cannot solve it with the so common ways of building in the last 200 years in many places. This is not necessarily about building more dams, more roads, more walls, and so on. It's something completely different. As any of you spoke about the paradox of engineers speaking now with full mouth and feeling proud about nature-based solutions. Oh, come on. What do we do? I mean, it's what we do. And suddenly any other one begins to speak about that. This is maybe our problem, that we are not good enough to show what we can offer.
Thank you.
Ruth, desculpe-me só que eu
Sim.
esqueci-me de uma coisa, agora de repente lembrei-me. Posso
Margarida.
acrescentar só uma coisa?
Sorry?
Sim,
Ruth?
sim. Não estou a ouvir.
I forgot something very important. We started in Portugal many years ago, and we have a very, very good legislation system, very, very good. Landscape architects contributed a lot for that, and many things. Our association has now 50 years old, the Portuguese Association of Landscape Architects, and we laugh very much because at the European level, they are using our terms. Now they call nature-based solutions, green and blue infrastructures. We had that in our plans for many years ago. But the problem, I believe, municipal plans, regional plans now in Portugal have all these contributes, and they are quite good. They are not understood and accomplished and monitored by the municipalities and by the government. Our problem is monitoring and implementation. We have very, very early legislation, very, very good. So we laugh when they are at the European level calling the different names and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Margarida. We have just a few minutes. Paulo and Laura. Paulo, please, you first.
Okay, thank you again. I do agree with what have just been said, but landscape architects must make sure they master and they know the biophysical world, and they can offer. Someone said it before. We must give a different thing to society. We are not here to do exactly what the engineers or the architects or the urbanists do. We produce a different proposal, and that's where I align as well. I think we should know the biophysical world, and we should interpret, diagnose plan and design the biophysical alternative.
With
So that
another
we
variables.
make a big job together with the other professionals. It's not to fight or to exclude the others. It's to be our own. We have a way, a different way, and I strongly believe that this way can add a lot of improvement in our development in terms of society to be more equal, more equitative, to be more free, and to be more viable as a species and in an entire world. So this is really, again, as I began, terribly ideological. And I do believe in these ideas. So this is not just about science, it's about the way we make philosophy about the world and to make proposals to progress. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. Laura? Laura?
Thank
Okay.
you. I just wanted to add two more things. Maybe one about the fight and the words and the definitions, and then some optimism also. Regarding the words, I just wanted to talk about a thing that happened to us when we were reviewing our last study plan. So some of the people here present, they know our problem, that we were criticized to have included the word proyectar, so to project.
Right.
In our study plan. So this is something where I really got upset because this was a recommendation, but in that case from our Madrilenian academic recognition panel. So I think this is something really worth fighting for, that we are not designers, that we can really take care of our projects. And that's the fight. And I think because Manuel was asking about if architects, engineers understand us and how is the relationship. And I think there is we understand each other, but in the end, in the professional world, everything breaks down to power, money, fees. And so this is where this kind of understanding now is clashing, and where we have this power gap, which was addressing Federico earlier. Okay. So this is what I wanted to add about the fight and the definitions and the words. And then about the optimism, I'm really so happy to be here in this, because this makes already critical mass for me. So it's not Spain, we are three schools, whatever, but there's also Portugal, and we have this Iberian somehow, unity. And I think this is fantastic. And thank you also, Margarita, you were speaking about the simple thing, like the exhibition of students' works in our schools. This is really helping a lot, and we're doing that now at the Universidad Rey Juan Carlos, and it brings a lot of attention also from our colleagues, from our engineers and architectural students, which are sharing the rooms with us. And this is very, very helpful and very easy to do, actually. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think it's time to close the webinar. There is 2 minutes. If anyone wants to say something in 2 minutes.
Há qualquer coisa no chat. Something in chat.
I think it is, all of it was answered. Manuel Sanchez and Celia Carvalho. Yeah.
Okay, I write some ideas because I know everything is going to be collected, and so I put it there so it is easy for. So maybe I don't know if Madara, you can bring us, because we are talking about our Iberian situation. I don't know if you know, is there other countries that are more or less at the same position, because maybe our workshop and our project can help another countries, or maybe in the next sessions, in the next phases of the project, we can make it bigger, or because some of the topics we want to bring to the European Union and our problems.
Yeah, there's totally many countries that could be interested, because many countries are in between. For example, I could say for the Latvia, we are working on architecture law to write all these things in, and it's for 15 years going on. So it's good. I feel your all energy, but don't think that it's going to be solved in 1 year. But that anyway, it's not the reason to just not do anything. So I love that you are all passionate and you have many ideas. And the important thing is really to share also outside, because, for example, the same France, they just last year announced that National Association of France is going to fight that it's not paysagist, but it's landscape architects. So many countries with different stages, they are just fighting for that in one way or another. So you are not alone. And if you are connecting everything, it would be nice that you share this idea outside.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting. It was really inspiring to be here today.
Thank you so much, Madara. So I think we will close now. There is a conclusion. We are not replaceable. So we need more regulation, or we need regulation. We need more people, more landscape architects. We need to fight, and we need for a longer education. I think all of us agree that 3 years it's not enough. Education of 5 years, sorry. So it is good to feel good to understand this feeling of that we all agree that we are not replaceable. So thank you so much to everyone.
Bye bye. Thank
Paulo,
you.
Bye bye. Paulo, do you want to say something?
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Only thank you for everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
participation.
Thank you very much.
So, I said before that it is one of the phases of the project. We will continue working on that, and maybe the next sessions will be present. So maybe we can make a big meeting with all the schools. So I think it is a really good idea to meet all together. We really don't know because we are really new in this project, but I want to say thank you to all of you. So thank you very much. We will continue being in contact. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your help,
Thank you very
and
much.
hope to see you again in other events of SUSTLAND Project. So maybe in Portugal, maybe here in Madrid, we will announce you the next events. So hope to see you again. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.